Princess Draco's kidnapping was the last straw for Jake Evans. The human security officer had watched, seething, as her own pack-led guards stood by and allowed it to happen. Now, in 2157, Earth's first interstellar embassy on Paklos faced a crisis that could reshape the galaxy. Jake paced the embassy's control room, his muscular frame taut with frustration. Holographic displays flickered with reports of the princess's abduction by the Vorkai, a rival alien faction. The ransom, advanced pack-led technology that could tip the balance of power in the cosmos. Earth's ambassador, a silver-haired diplomat named Harriet Chen, addressed the assembled staff. All human personnel are ordered to stay out of this conflict. We cannot risk interstellar repercussions. Her eyes locked with Jake's, sensing his restlessness. But Jake had other plans. At 28, he'd seen enough of the galaxy to know that sometimes rules needed breaking. The pack-leds, with their technological prowess and physical frailty, had long looked down on humans as primitive brutes. This was humanity's chance to prove its worth. As the embassy buzzed with activity, Jake slipped away. He armed himself with basic Earth weapons, a pistol, combat knife, and a few grenades. Against Vorkai technology, they seemed laughably inadequate. But Jake had something the aliens didn't: human ingenuity and adaptability. The Vorkai compound loomed before him, a sprawling complex of gleaming metal and force fields. Jake's military training kicked in as he analyzed entry points and patrol patterns. With a deep breath, he began his infiltration. Alien security measures presented puzzles Jake had never encountered. Biometric scanners designed for non-human physiology, gravity traps calibrated to pack-led mass. Each obstacle required quick thinking and creative solutions. Jake's human flexibility proved invaluable as he contorted through spaces designed to trap larger pack-led intruders. After disabling a series of energy barriers with improvised electromagnetic pulses, Jake finally reached Princess Draco's cell. The pack-led royal glared at him with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "A human?" she hissed. "What are you doing here?" Jake worked on the cell's locking mechanism. "Saving you, Your Highness, unless you'd rather stay." Draco's eyes narrowed. "My own people left me to this fate. Why would a human risk everything?" As the cell door slid open, alarms blared throughout the compound. Jake grabbed the princess's arm. "Let's just say I'm invested in improving interspecies relations. Now run!" Their escape turned into a gauntlet of challenges. Vorkai guards converged from all directions, wielding energy weapons that scorched the air. Jake's combat skills proved surprisingly effective against the physically superior aliens, his quick movements and unpredictable tactics keeping them off balance. Princess Draco, for her part, demonstrated why she was considered rebellious among her people. Instead of cowering, she quickly grasped the basics of Jake's weaponry, providing covering fire as they fought their way out. As they battled through the compound, Jake learned more about the princess. Her criticism of pack-led society stemmed from a vision of a more open, collaborative galactic community, one that included humans as equals. It was a perspective that challenged Jake's own preconceptions about alien races. Their shared ordeal forged an unexpected connection. Human and pack-led, working in tandem, proved a formidable combination against their Vorkai captors. Jake's combat prowess complemented Draco's technical knowledge, allowing them to overcome obstacles that would have stymied either one alone. Breaking free of the compound, Jake and Draco faced a new challenge, navigating the dangerous Vorkai-controlled territory to reach safety. But it wasn't just Vorkai forces they had to worry about. Pack-lead authorities, eager to cover up the embarrassing kidnapping, were also on their trail. As they raced across the alien landscape, Jake realized that his impulsive rescue mission had set in motion events that would reshape human-alien relations. The galaxy's balance of power teetered on the edge of change, and a human from Earth was right at the center of it all. The adventure had only just begun. Jake and Princess Draco raced across the alien terrain, their hearts pounding in sync with the urgency of their situation. The Vorkai compound faded into the distance, but both knew their troubles were nowhere near the end. Jake's eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of pursuit. "We need to find cover," he said, his voice low and tense. "The Vorkai won't give up easily." Draco nodded, her alien features set in relentless drive. There, she pointed to a rocky outcropping in the distance. Those formations might conceal us. As they approached, Jake noticed the entrance to a cave system hidden among the rocks. He motioned for Draco to follow him inside. The cave's cool darkness enveloped them, providing a momentary respite from the harsh alien sun. Jake's military training kicked in as he assessed their surroundings. The cave system was vast, its twisting passages disappearing into inky blackness. Strange luminescent fungi cast an eerie glow on the cave walls, revealing alien rock formations that seemed to defy gravity. As they ventured deeper into the cave, Jake's foot caught on something metallic. He knelt down, brushing away centuries of dust to reveal a small, intricately designed device. Draco's eyes widened. "By the stars," she breathed. "That's Pakled technology, ancient Pakled technology." Jake carefully lifted the device, feeling its surprising weight. "What does it do?" "I'm not certain," Draco replied, her voice tinged with excitement. "But if it's what I think it is, it could be a key to accessing some of our most advanced systems." The implications of this discovery weren't lost on Jake. Such technology could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. He pocketed the device, knowing it could prove crucial in the days to come. Their exploration of the cave system was fraught with danger. Treacherous terrain forced them to rely on each other, Jake's physical prowess complementing Draco's technical knowledge. At one point, they encountered a pack of cave-dwelling predators, six-legged creatures with razor-sharp claws and bioluminescent eyes. Jake's combat skills came to the fore as he fended off the beast with his combat knife, while Draco used her understanding of alien biology to identify a high-pitched sound that drove the creatures away. As they caught their breath after the encounter, Draco turned to Jake. "You continue to surprise me, human," she said. "Your adaptability is impressive." Jake allowed himself a small smile. "We're full of surprises. Maybe it's time your people started seeing us as potential allies, rather than primitive brutes." This led to a deep conversation as they navigated the cave system. Draco shared her vision for modernizing Pakled society, emphasizing the need for alliances with other species, including humans. Jake found himself captivated by her ideas, seeing the princess in a new light. As they emerged from the caves, the harsh reality of their situation came crashing back. A Vorkai patrol stood before them, led by a towering figure Jake recognized from intelligence briefings. "Commander Zorn?" Draco whispered, her voice tight with fear. The Vorkai commander's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the unlikely pair. "A human and a Pakled princess," he sneered. "How quaint." Jake's mind raced, assessing their options. The Vorkai outnumbered them, their energy weapons far outclassing his Earth-made pistol, but he wasn't about to go down without a fight. With lightning speed, Jake drew his weapon and fired, taking down two Vorkai soldiers before diving for cover. Draco, showing surprising agility, followed suit. The air crackled with energy blasts as the Vorkai returned fire. Jake's combat training served him well as he maneuvered through the rocky terrain, taking out several more Vorkai with precise shots. But it wasn't enough. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, Draco pulled out the ancient Pakled device. Her fingers danced over its surface, activating long-dormant systems. Suddenly, a shimmering energy field expanded around them, causing the Vorkai weapons to sputter and die. "Now!" Draco shouted. Jake didn't need to be told twice. He charged forward, using his bare hands to incapacitate the confused Vorkai soldiers. Within moments, only Commander Zorn remained standing. The Vorkai leader snarled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "This isn't over, human," he growled before retreating. Jake and Draco wasted no time. They commandeered a Vorkai vehicle and sped towards the border of Vorkai territory. As they drove, the reality of their situation sank in. "We've just made some powerful enemies," Jake said, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Draco nodded, her alien features set in a grim expression. "Not just the Vorkai, my own people. They may not welcome my return as you might expect." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Before Draco could respond, the vehicle's communication system crackled to life. They intercepted transmissions indicating that both Vorkai and Pakled forces were converging on their location. Jake's heart sank as he recognized the voice of General Kraz, Draco's uncle, coordinating the Pakled forces. The general's words left no doubt. They were more interested in silencing Draco than rescuing her. The princess's face fell as the truth of her situation became clear. "My own family," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Jake made a split-second decision. "We can't go back to the Earth Embassy or Pakled territory," he said. "We need a neutral party." Draco's eyes lit up with understanding. "The Zindi," she said. Jake nodded. "Their non-interference policy might be our best shot at buying some time." He adjusted their course, aiming for Zindi space. As they raced across the alien landscape, Jake found himself stealing glances at Draco. The shared danger had forged a connection between them, challenging everything he thought he knew about aliens. Draco caught his eye and smiled, an expression that seemed both familiar and alien on her Pakled features. "You know, Jake," she said, "I'm beginning to understand why humans have survived in a seemingly impossible way in this galaxy." Jake returned the smile, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the alien sun beating down on them. "And I'm starting to see why you're considered a rebel among your people, princess." Their moment of connection was abruptly shattered as warning lights flashed across the vehicle's control panel. The engine sputtered, sending them into a dangerous spiral. "We're losing power," Draco shouted, her hands flying over the alien controls. Jake gritted his teeth, fighting the steering mechanism as the ground rushed up to meet them. "Brace for impact." The Vorkai vehicle slammed into the surface of an unknown planet, skidding across rough terrain before coming to a violent stop. As the dust settled, Jake and Draco emerged from the wreckage, battered but alive. Jake surveyed their surroundings, an alien landscape of purple vegetation and twin moons hanging low in the sky. "Where are we?" he asked. Draco consulted a device on her wrist, her face pale. "We're in a Zindi space, but this is an unexplored planet. We're on our own." As if to punctuate her words, a piercing cry echoed across the alien landscape, sending chills down Jake's spine. He shared a look with Draco, both understanding the gravity of their situation. Their journey was just getting started. In fact, it had only just begun. The impact of the crash reverberated through Jake's body as he forced his eyes open, blinking away the disorientation. Acrid smoke filled his nostrils, mingling with the alien sense of their new environment. He turned to Draco, relief washing over him as he saw her stirring beside him. "You okay?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Draco nodded, wincing as she moved. "I've been better. Where are we?" Jake pushed open the damaged hatch of the Vorkai vehicle, stepping out into a world of vibrant purples and deep blues. Towering vegetation surrounded them, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. 2 moons hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. Draco emerged behind him, her eyes widening as she took in their surroundings. She tapped at a device on her wrist, frowning at the readout. "We're in Zindi space, but this planet, it's not on any of our star charts." Jake's military training kicked in as he surveyed the wreckage. "We need to salvage what we can and find shelter before nightfall." They worked quickly, gathering supplies from the crashed vehicle. Jake's hands moved with practiced efficiency, separating useful components from the twisted metal. Draco's technical knowledge proved invaluable as she identified alien technology that might aid their survival. As the alien sun began to set, Jake constructed a makeshift shelter using debris from the crash and the strange, rubbery vegetation that surrounded them. The structure was crude, but would provide protection from the elements and potential predators. Night fell rapidly, plunging the jungle into darkness. Bioluminescent creatures emerged from the undergrowth, their soft glow casting dancing shadows across the alien terrain. Jake and Draco huddled in their shelter, the strange cries of unseen animals echoing through the night. A rustling in the nearby foliage put Jake on high alert. He gripped his combat knife, muscles tensing as he peered into the darkness. Suddenly, a massive creature burst from the undergrowth, a 6-legged feline with razor-sharp tentacles extending from its shoulders. Jake reacted instinctively, pushing Draco behind him as he faced the alien predator. The creature lunged, its tentacles whipping through the air. Jake ducked, feeling the wind from the attack brush past his face. He rolled, coming up with a piece of twisted metal from the crash. The fight was brutal and swift. Jake's combat training allowed him to anticipate the creature's movements, dodging its attacks while looking for an opening. He used the environment to his advantage, luring the beast into a tangle of vines before striking with his makeshift weapon. As the creature lay motionless, Jake turned to see Draco staring at him with a mixture of awe and respect. "That was impressive," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake allowed himself a small smile. "Just doing what I was trained to do, but we can't stay here. There might be more of them." They spent the night in shifts, one always keeping watch while the other rested. As dawn broke, they set out to find signs of civilization, using a damaged communicator from the Vorkai ship to track faint energy signatures. The journey was arduous. The alien terrain seemed designed to impede their progress, with treacherous swamps and dense, thorny vegetation blocking their path. Jake's survival skills were put to the test as he navigated through the hostile environment. By midday, the heat had become oppressive. Draco, unused to such physical exertion, began to falter. Without hesitation, Jake scooped her up, carrying her across a particularly dangerous stretch of quicksand-like terrain. "You don't have to do this," Draco protested weakly, her arms instinctively wrapping around Jake's neck. Jake grunted with effort, focusing on each careful step. "Yes, I do. We're in this together now." As he set her down on solid ground, their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them, a spark of connection that transcended their differences. Jake felt his heartbeat quicken, surprised by the intensity of the moment. Their progress came to an abrupt halt as they reached the edge of a massive ravine. The gap stretched impossibly wide, disappearing into mist at either end. Jake studied the challenge before them, his mind racing through potential solutions. "We need to cross," he said, drive in his voice. "I think I can construct a bridge using vines and some of the debris we salvaged." Draco watched in fascination as Jake went to work. His hands moved with practiced skill, weaving vines into strong ropes and using metal from their crash to create anchor points. Within hours, a precarious but functional rope bridge stretched across the chasm. "Incredible," Draco breathed, running her hand along the makeshift structure. "I've never seen anything like this." Jake gestured for her to go first. "Stay low and move slowly. I'll be right behind you." They were halfway across when disaster struck. A gust of wind caught Draco off balance, and she slipped from the bridge with a cry of terror. Jake lunged forward, his hand closing around her wrist just as she fell. For a heart-stopping moment, Draco dangled over the abyss, her life literally in Jake's hands. With a grunt of exertion, Jake pulled her to safety, holding her close as they both gasped for breath. "I've got you," Jake whispered, his heart pounding. "I've got you." They stayed like that for a long moment, the shock of the near-death experience cementing their growing bond. When they finally separated, something had changed between them, a deeper trust and understanding that went beyond their initial roles as rescuer and rescuee. As they reached the other side of the ravine, a glint of metal caught Jake's eye. Hidden among the dense foliage was a structure that was decidedly not natural, an abandoned Xindi outpost. Jake's combat instincts took over as they approached the facility. He moved with practiced stealth, watching for any signs of active defense systems. They entered the outpost cautiously, Draco close behind him. Inside, they found a treasure trove of alien technology. Draco's eyes lit up as she examined the equipment, her fingers dancing over unfamiliar controls. "This is incredible," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "Some of this tech is far beyond anything the pack lead or even the Vorkai possess." Jake's attention was drawn to a particular device. "Is that what I think it is?" Draco nodded, already working to activate the system. "A long-range communicator. If I can get it working, we might be able to call for help." As Draco worked her technical magic on the communicator, Jake kept watch. The abandoned outpost felt too quiet, too convenient. His instincts told him they were missing something important. Suddenly, a series of loud clicks echoed through the facility. Jake spun around, weapon raised, to see a dozen metallic orbs detach from the ceiling. They hummed to life, red sensors focusing on the intruders. "Draco, get down!" Jake shouted, diving for cover as the defense system opened fire. Fire as the defense system opened fire. Lethal energy bolts sizzled through the air, forcing Jake and Draco to take cover behind a nearby console. "We need to shut these things down!" Jake shouted over the cacophony of destruction. Draco's fingers flew over the alien controls. "I'm trying, but this system is unlike anything I've seen before." Jake assessed their situation, his mind racing. The metallic orbs were relentless, their attacks growing more precise with each passing second. He spotted a panel on the far wall, its design different from the others. "Cover me!" he yelled, preparing to make a dash for it. Draco nodded, grabbing a piece of debris and hurling it at the nearest orb. The distraction worked, giving Jake the opening he needed. He sprinted across the room, ducking and weaving through the barrage of energy bolts. With a final dive, he reached the panel and wrenched it open. Inside was a tangle of circuitry, unlike anything he'd encountered before. Jake took a deep breath, recalling his training on alien tech. He identified what looked like a power coupling and, saying a silent prayer, yanked it free. The effect was immediate. The orbs faltered, their attacks ceasing as they clattered to the ground. Jake allowed himself a moment of relief before turning back to Draco. "Nice work," she said, emerging from her cover. "But we're not out of danger yet." As if on cue, the facility's walls shuddered. The sound of multiple ships descending upon them filled the air. Jake and Draco shared a look of understanding. Their time was running out. A new voice cut through the tension. "Over here, quickly!" They turned to see a woman in a lab coat beckoning them from a hidden doorway. Her eyes were wide with urgency, but there was a fire of persistence in them. "Dr. Zara, I presume?" Jake asked as they approached. The scientist nodded. "And you must be the human and pack-led princess I've heard so much about. We don't have much time." She led them through a series of winding corridors, deeper into the heart of the facility. They entered a vast chamber dominated by a pedestal. Atop it sat an object that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, the ancient pack-led artifact. "We need to get this out of here," Dr. Zara said, already moving to secure the artifact. "Jake, can you access the security systems from that terminal? We need to slow down our pursuers." Jake nodded, his military training kicking in as he approached the console. His fingers danced across the alien interface, setting up a series of traps and false leads throughout the facility. Meanwhile, Draco joined Dr. Zara at the artifact. "I've studied our ancient texts," she said, her voice filled with reverence. "This device, it's said to have transportation capabilities beyond our understanding." Dr. Zara's eyes lit up. "Yes, my research suggests it's connected to a network of ancient transportation hubs scattered across the galaxy. If we can activate it..." Their discussion was cut short by the sound of an explosion above them. Jake's face hardened. "We've got company, Vorkai forces, by the sound of it." He moved to the chamber's entrance, readying himself for combat. The first Vorkai soldier to breach their position was met with a swift takedown, Jake's human agility proving superior to the aliens' reliance on technology. As Jake engaged the Vorkai forces, Draco and Dr. Zara worked feverishly to activate the artifact. Its pulsating energy field grew stronger, filling the chamber with an eerie light. The skirmish intensified. Jake found himself facing off against a formidable opponent, Commander Zorn, leader of the Vorkai assault team. Their hand-to-hand combat was fierce, a blur of strikes and counters. Despite the chaos, Jake managed to gain the upper hand. With a well-timed maneuver, he disarmed Zorn and pinned him against the wall. "Stand down," Jake growled, his voice leaving no room for argument. A new commotion from above signaled the arrival of pack-led forces. General Kraz's voice boomed through the facility, demanding Princess Draco's surrender. Draco's face hardened at the sound of her uncle's betrayal. She stepped forward, her royal bearing evident in every movement. "I will not yield to corruption," she declared, her voice carrying an authority that made even Jake pause. "My loyalty is to the pack-led people, not to those who would abuse their power." Her words had an immediate effect. Confusion rippled through the pack-led ranks. with many soldiers hesitating, torn between their loyalty to the princess and their orders. Amidst this standoff, a new group entered the fray. Major Sarah Webb and her Earth extraction team infiltrated the facility, their arrival adding another layer to the already complex situation. Webb assessed the scene, her eyes landing on Jake. Instead of moving to arrest him, she nodded in respect. "Looks like you could use a hand, soldier." Jake couldn't help but grin. "Wouldn't say no to some backup, Major." With the Earth forces now allied with them, Jake felt a surge of hope. He turned to Draco and Dr. Zara, who were still working on the artifact. "How much longer?" "Almost there," Draco replied, her hands moving with increasing confidence over the ancient device. "I think I've figured out how to—" She was cut off as the artifact suddenly flared to life. A shimmering portal materialized before them, its surface rippling like liquid starlight. Dr. Zara's eyes widened in awe. "It's a gateway to the transportation network. We need to go through, now!" Jake hesitated for a split second, his gaze meeting Draco's. In that moment, he saw the trust in her eyes, the connection that had grown between them through their shared ordeal. He nodded, decision made. "Major Webb," he called out, "we're going through. Can you hold them off?" Webb flashed a fierce grin. "Consider it done. Go. Represent Earth out there, Jake." With a final nod of thanks, Jake took Draco's hand. Together with Dr. Zara close behind, they stepped into the shimmering portal. The last thing Jake saw before the gateway enveloped them was the chaotic scene of the facility. Earth forces engaging the Vorkai and Pakled troops, Webb shouting orders, the artifact's energy field expanding to incapacitate nearby electronics. Then everything vanished in a rush of light and sensation. Jake felt as if he was being unmade and remade, hurtling through space and time. When the world finally solidified around them, they found themselves in a vast, cavernous space, unlike anything they had ever seen. They stood on a platform in what appeared to be an ancient, abandoned space station. All around them, dormant technology of unimaginable sophistication filled the chamber. Through a massive viewport, they could see an uncharted star burning in the void of space. As they took in their surroundings, the realization of what they had stumbled upon began to sink in. This wasn't just an escape. It was the dawn of a new era of galactic exploration and potential conflict. Dr. Zara was the first to break the awed silence. "This is it," she breathed, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "The hub of the transportation network. Do you realize what this means?" Jake and Draco shared a look, both understanding the weight of their discovery. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they knew their journey was nowhere near the end. In fact, it had only just begun. Jake, Draco, and Dr. Zara barely had time to catch their breath before alarms blared throughout the ancient space station. Through the massive viewport, they saw a fleet of ships emerging from hyperspace, a mix of Vorkai, Pakled, and Earth vessels. "They followed us through," Jake said, his combat instincts kicking in. He scanned the chamber, looking for anything that could give them an advantage. His eyes settled on a raised platform near the center of the room, covered in holographic displays. "That looks like a control center. Draco, see if you can access it." Draco nodded, hurrying to the platform. As she approached, the displays flickered to life, responding to her presence. She gasped, her fingers hovering over the controls. "It's recognizing me somehow." Dr. Zara's eyes widened. "The Pakled royal bloodline. It must share some connection with the station's creators." As Draco worked to decipher the alien interface, Jake spotted another console near the viewport. Its layout reminded him of weapon systems he'd encountered during his military career. He rushed over, his hands moving across the controls with growing confidence. "I think I've found our defense grid," he called out, "but I need more time to figure it out." "Time we don't have," Dr. Zara said, pointing at the viewport. The first wave of ships had entered the station's defensive perimeter, weapons charged. Jake gritted his teeth, focusing on the holographic display before him. The system was advanced, but its design was intuitive. He found himself understanding it almost instinctively. With a series of quick gestures, he activated the station's energy-based weapons. Outside, beams of purple energy lanced out from hidden emplacements on the station's surface. They struck the approaching Vorkai ships with pinpoint accuracy, disabling their weapons and propulsion systems without destroying them. "Nice shooting," Draco said, impressed. "You've given us some breathing room." Jake allowed himself a small smile. "Let's hope it's enough. How are you coming with those controls?" Draco's brow furrowed in concentration. I think I can do more than just access them. It's like the station is inviting me in." As they watched, Draco's eyes began to glow with an otherworldly light. The holographic displays around her swirled and intensified. When she spoke again, her voice had taken on a strange, resonant quality. "I am interfacing directly with the station's main computer," she said. "The Pakled, we are descendants of this station's builders. That's why it recognizes me." Dr. Zara rushed to a nearby console, her fingers flying over the alien keyboard. "This changes everything. The station's database. It's a treasure trove of information. The original purpose of this place. It wasn't just for transportation. It was meant to be a neutral ground, a place where different species could meet and cooperate." Jake's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. "Then we need to make them understand that. Draco, can you open a communication channel to all the ships out there?" Draco nodded, her glowing eyes unfocused. "Channel open." Jake took a deep breath, then spoke. "This is Jake Cooper, formerly of Earth's Stellar Navy. We are broadcasting from an ancient space station of immense power and importance. We have activated its defensive capabilities, but we do not wish for further conflict. This station was built as a place of peace and cooperation between species. We invite representatives from all factions to come aboard and discuss the implications of this discovery." As Jake's message echoed across space, the incoming fleet's advance slowed. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, ships from each faction began to break off from their attack formations. "It's working," Dr. Zara breathed. "They're sending shuttles to dock with the station." Jake nodded, relief washing over him. But he knew this was just the beginning. As the first representatives began to arrive, a mix of Vorkai, Pakled, and human diplomats, he steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The next few hours were a whirlwind of tense negotiations and almost unchecked hostilities. Jake found himself at the center of it all, using every diplomatic skill he'd learned during his years in the Stellar Navy. Draco's presence was crucial, her newfound connection to the station lending weight to their words. Dr. Zara's scientific insights proved invaluable as she explained the potential of the station's technology. The holographic map she activated, showing the vast network of similar stations across the galaxy, stunned the assembled delegates into momentary silence. Just as it seemed they were making progress, alarms blared once again. General Kraz, Draco's uncle, had used the confusion to slip away. Now he was leading a group of loyal, pack-led soldiers in an assault on the control room. Jake's combat training kicked in. He grabbed a fallen Vorkai's energy weapon and took up a defensive position. "Draco, seal the doors! Dr. Zara, get the delegates to safety." As energy blasts rocked the chamber, Jake found himself fighting side by side with Draco. Her control over the station's systems complemented his physical combat skills perfectly. Together, they managed to repel wave after wave of Kraz's forces. In the heat of battle, Jake caught Draco's eye. There was a moment of understanding between them, a deepening of the bond that had been growing since their crash landing. They moved in perfect synchronization, human and pack-led, warrior and technologist. When the last of Kraz's forces fell, Jake and Draco stood together, breathing hard. The assembled delegates looked on in awe, finally understanding the power of cooperation that this station represented. As the dust settled, Jake addressed the group once more. "What you've just witnessed is proof of what we can achieve together. This station, this network, it's too big for any one species to control. We need to work together." His words, backed by the display of power they'd all witnessed, finally broke through the last of the resistance. One by one, the delegates agreed to form a joint council to oversee the station and its network. As the new galactic alliance began to take shape, Jake found himself appointed as Earth's representative on the Oversight Committee. Draco, with her unique connection to the station, was the natural choice to represent the Pack-led. Dr. Zara was named chief scientist for the joint research efforts. But even as they celebrated this first step towards peace, Jake couldn't shake a feeling of unease. He caught glimpses of suspicious glances between delegates, heard whispers of old grudges and new fears. The alliance was fragile, balanced on a knife's edge. As the first official meeting of the new council began, Jake shared a look with Draco. They both knew that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The fate of the galactic realm now rested on their ability to nurture this fragile peace and uncover the true potential of the ancient network they'd stumbled upon. With a deep breath, Jake stepped forward to address the council, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them next. As Jake concluded his address to the council, the room erupted into a cacophony of voices. Representatives from each species clamored to be heard, their words a mixture of hope, skepticism, and barely concealed hostility. The fragile alliance they had forged was already showing signs of strain. Jake caught Draco's eye across the room, sharing a moment of silent understanding. They both knew that maintaining this delicate balance would be their greatest challenge yet. Dr. Zara approached them, her face alight with excitement despite the tense atmosphere. "Jake, Draco, I've made a breakthrough in my research," she said, her voice low. "Meet me in the lab as soon as you can." Hours later, after navigating a maze of diplomatic niceties and veiled threats, Jake and Draco finally made their way to Dr. Zara's makeshift laboratory. The room was a chaotic blend of ancient technology and hastily assembled Earth equipment. Dr. Zara barely looked up from her holographic display as they entered. "I've discovered something remarkable," she said, her fingers dancing across the alien interface. "The station's power source. It's not like anything we've ever encountered before." Jake leaned in, studying the swirling diagrams. "What are we looking at, Doc?" "An element," Dr. Zara replied, her eyes shining. "One that doesn't exist on any known world. It's the key to the entire transportation network." Draco's brow furrowed. "If it doesn't exist on any known world, where did it come from?" Dr. Zara's grin widened. "That's the exciting part. I've traced its origin to a planet at the edge of charted space. It's never been explored by any of our species." Jake whistled low. "An unexplored planet with a powerful new element. That's going to cause some waves in the council." His prediction proved accurate. The next council session was a storm of competing interests and thinly veiled threats. The Vorkai demanded immediate military control of the planet. The Shindi insisted on exclusive scientific access. The Pack-led, led by the ever-suspicious General Kraz, called for a Pack-led-only expedition. Jake watched the alliance he'd worked so hard to build crumble before his eyes. He stood, his voice cutting through the din. "Enough! This is exactly what we came together to prevent. I propose a joint expedition, representatives from all species, working together." The room fell silent, all eyes on Jake. He continued, laying out a plan for a mixed-species team to explore the planet and establish a shared mining operation. It was a risky proposal, but it was their best chance at preserving the fragile peace. To Jake's surprise, it was Commander Zorn of the Vorkai who spoke first. "The humans' plan has merit," he growled, the words seeming to pain him. "We will participate." One by one, the other factions agreed, some more reluctantly than others. Jake caught sight of a Xindi representative, Thal, exchanging meaningful glances with his colleagues. Something about the Xindi's body language set Jake's instincts on edge, but he had no concrete reason for suspicion. As the council dispersed to prepare for the expedition, Jake found himself alone with Draco. The Pack-led princess's eyes shimmered with an emotion Jake couldn't quite place. "That was well done," Draco said softly. "You may have just saved the alliance." Jake shrugged, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. "For now, at least. But this expedition is going to be a powder keg." Draco nodded, her hand brushing against Jake's arm. "Then I'm glad you'll be there to keep it from exploding." The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken words and growing tension. Jake found himself lost in Draco's alien yet beautiful features, his heart racing in a way that had nothing to do with the day's political maneuvering. Their moment was interrupted by the heavy tread of General Kraz. The Pack-led leader's eyes narrowed as he took in their closeness. "Princess," he said, his voice dripping with disapproval, We must discuss your role in this expedition." As Draco was led away, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that their growing bond had just made their already complicated situation even more perilous. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Jake worked tirelessly to assemble a team that could work together despite their differences. Commander Zorn was a reluctant but capable second-in-command, his military experience balancing Jake's more improvised leadership style. Thal, the Xindi scientist, brought a wealth of knowledge but remained aloof from the others. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The team gathered before the shimmering portal that would transport them instantly across the galaxy. Jake took a deep breath, looking at the diverse group of aliens and humans under his command. "Remember," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber, "out there, we're not separate species. We're one team, representing a united galaxy. Whatever we find on the other side of that portal, we face it together." With a nod to Draco, who stood at the portal controls, Jake led the way into the unknown. There was a moment of disorientation, a sensation of being unmade and remade, and then they stood on the surface of an alien world. Harsh winds whipped across a landscape of jagged rock formations and swirling, multicolored sand. Two suns hung in the sky, one blue, one red, casting an eerie purple light over everything. Jake activated his environment suit's sensors, frowning at the readings. "Atmosphere's breathable, but barely. Extreme temperature fluctuations. Everyone stay alert and stick together." As the team began to move out, following the signal of the mysterious element, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Something moved in the shadows of a distant rock formation, something massive and alien. Their journey had only just begun, and already Jake sensed that this expedition would test not only the strength of their alliance, but the very limits of their survival skills. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that his growing bond with Draco would be both a source of strength and a potential liability in the face of mounting suspicions and hidden agendas. Jake's instincts screamed danger as he scanned the alien landscape. The team had barely taken a few steps when a tremor shook the ground beneath their feet. Cracks spider-webbed across the multicolored sand, and Jake's suit sensors blared warnings of seismic activity. "Everyone, back to the portal!" he shouted, but it was too late. The ground gave way, plunging the team into darkness. Jake tumbled through a maze of underground tunnels, his suit's emergency systems barely keeping him from serious injury. When he finally came to a stop, he found himself in a vast cavern illuminated by bioluminescent fungi. Scattered around him were the rest of the team members, groaning and checking their equipment. As Jake helped Thal to his feet, he realized with a jolt that Draco was missing. Panic gripped him, but he forced it down, knowing he needed to keep a clear head. "Commander Zorn, take charge of the team. I'm going to find Draco," Jake ordered, already moving towards one of the tunnels branching off from the cavern. Zorn growled but nodded, recognizing the necessity of Jake's decision. "Don't take too long, human. We need to regroup and find a way back to the station." Jake sprinted through the winding passages, his suit's sensors picking up a faint Pakled life sign. He rounded a corner and nearly collided with Draco, who was limping towards him, her face contorted with pain. "Jake!" she exclaimed, relief evident in her voice. "I thought I'd never find you in this maze." He supported her weight, noticing the damage to her suit's leg. "We need to get you back to the others. Can you walk?" Draco nodded, gritting her teeth. As they made their way back, Jake's comms crackled to life. It was Dr. Zara, her voice tense with urgency. "Jake, Draco, can you hear me? General Kraz has taken control of the station. He's locked out all non-Pakled access and is threatening to destroy the portal network if his demands aren't met." Jake and Draco exchanged alarmed glances. "What are his demands?" Jake asked, already dreading the answer. "He wants sole Pakled control of the station and the element we discovered," Dr. Zara replied. "He's given the council 1 hour to comply." Draco's eyes hardened with willpower. "We can't let that happen. Jake, we need to get back to the station immediately." They rejoined the team, quickly explaining the situation. Commander Zorn snarled, his hand tightening on his weapon. "I knew we couldn't trust the Pakled. We should have taken control when we had the chance." That kind of thinking is what got us into this mess, Jake retorted. We need to work together now more than ever. Thal, who had been examining the cavern walls, spoke up. These tunnels, they're not natural. They're part of an ancient transportation network, similar to the portal we used to get here. Jake's eyes widened as he realized the implications. Can we use them to get back to the station? Thal nodded, his antenna twitching with excitement. If we can find a control interface, yes, but it would bypass the main portal system. We could potentially materialize anywhere on the station. That's exactly what we need, Jake said, a plan forming in his mind. If we can get back undetected, we might have a chance to stop Kraz. The team worked quickly, with Thal and Draco combining their knowledge to locate and activate a hidden transportation node. As they gathered around the shimmering energy field, Jake addressed the group. Remember, we're likely to be separated when we arrive. Whatever happens, our priority is to stop Kraz and protect the station. This is bigger than any one of our species now. With a collective deep breath, they stepped into the energy field. Jake felt the familiar sensation of his body dissolving, but this time it lasted longer, as if they were traveling a greater distance. When he rematerialized, he found himself alone in a dimly lit corridor he didn't recognize. Activating his suit's stealth mode, Jake moved cautiously through the station. He encountered several patrols of Kraz's loyalists but managed to evade detection. As he made his way towards the control room, he caught glimpses of the other team members through the station's internal sensors. They were all converging on the same location. Jake arrived at the control room entrance just as Draco appeared from an adjacent corridor. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. With a nod, Jake prepared to breach the door, while Draco interfaced with the station's systems. The door slid open, and Jake rolled inside, his weapon at the ready. General Kraz spun around, surprise turning to anger as he recognized the intruder. "You!" Kraz snarled. "How did you get here?" Jake kept his weapon trained on the Pakled leader. "It's over, Kraz. Stand down and release control of the station." Kraz laughed, a harsh grating sound. "You think you can stop me, human? I control everything now. One push of a button, and I can strand your entire species on that backwater planet you call home." As Kraz reached for the control panel, the lights in the room flickered. Draco's voice came over the comm system, tight with concentration. "Jake, I've partially accessed the station's defenses, but Kraz's encryption is strong. I need more time." Jake knew he had to keep Kraz distracted. He holstered his weapon and stepped forward. "You want to do this the old-fashioned way, General? Let's see how tough you really are without your technology to hide behind." Kraz's eyes narrowed, but pride overrode caution. He lunged at Jake, his Pakled strength nearly overwhelming the human. They grappled fiercely, crashing into consoles and equipment as they fought for dominance. Jake's combat training gave him an edge in technique, but Kraz's raw power was formidable. As they struggled, Jake caught sight of Draco working feverishly at a secondary control panel, her fingers dancing across the alien interface. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Kraz's momentary distraction was all Jake needed. He executed a perfect throw, sending the Pakled general crashing to the ground. Before Kraz could recover, Jake had him pinned. "Now, Draco!" Jake shouted. Draco's hands flew across the controls, and a shimmering energy field enveloped Kraz. The Pakled leader froze in place, caught in the station's stasis field. As Kraz's forces throughout the station found themselves similarly immobilized, Jake allowed himself a moment of relief, but their victory was short-lived as new alarms began to sound. "Jake," Draco called, her voice tight with worry, "the station's security protocols have been activated. It's initiated some kind of self-destruct sequence." The floor beneath them shuddered, and Jake could hear the distant sound of metal tearing. He rushed to Draco's side, staring at the incomprehensible symbols flashing across the screen. "Can you stop it?" he asked, knowing the fate of everyone on board hung in the balance. Draco's brow furrowed in concentration. I'm not sure. This isn't a simple self-destruct. It's changing, transforming somehow, but into what I can't tell." As the station groaned and shifted around them, Jake knew they faced their greatest challenge yet. The next few minutes would determine not just their fate, but the future of interstellar relations. With Draco at his side, he prepared to make the most crucial decision of his life. As Jake's finger hovered over the control panel, ready to make a desperate attempt to stop the station's transformation, a surge of energy pulsed through the structure. The vibrations intensified, and for a moment, Jake feared they had failed. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of tearing itself apart, the station began to shift and reconfigure. Walls morphed, corridors realigned, and new systems came online. Jake and Draco watched in awe as the control room expanded, revealing a bridge-like structure with advanced navigation and tactical interfaces. "It's evolving," Draco whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Jake nodded, equally amazed. Not self-destructing, self-improving. As the transformation completed, the station's AI spoke in a clear synthetic voice. "Reconfiguration complete. Vessel Unity now online and ready for deep space exploration." Jake and Draco exchanged looks of disbelief. Their accidental activation of the station's protocols had turned it into a starship, one clearly designed for long-range missions. As they marveled at this development, the rest of their team began to arrive on the bridge, having navigated the changing layout of the station-turned ship. Commander Zorn was the first to speak, his gruff voice tinged with a mix of suspicion and excitement. "What in the name of the 7 moons just happened?" Jake took a deep breath, knowing that their next actions would be crucial. "It seems we've activated some kind of contingency plan built into the station's systems. We're now on board an exploration vessel." Thal approached one of the control panels, his antennas twitching with curiosity. "Fascinating. The level of technology here is beyond anything I've ever seen. It appears to be a combination of all our species' advancements, and then some." As the team gathered on the bridge, Jake realized that their mission had just taken an unexpected turn. The newly christened Unity represented an opportunity to push the boundaries of known space and perhaps find answers to the mysteries surrounding the ancient civilization that had created the transportation network. "Everyone, take your stations," Jake ordered, falling naturally into the role of captain. "Draco, I need you on navigation. Zorn, tactical. Thal, see what you can make of the science station." As the crew scrambled to their positions, alarms began to blare. Zorn growled from his console. Multiple ships approaching. Signatures match Kraz's loyalist fleet. Jake's mind raced. They couldn't risk letting Kraz's forces take control of this advanced vessel. "Draco, can you get us out of here?" Draco's fingers flew over the controls. "I think so. The navigation system is intuitive, almost as if it's reading my thoughts. Plotting a course now." "All hands, brace for departure," Jake announced over the ship-wide comm. With a lurch, the Unity detached from its docking clamps and accelerated away from the approaching fleet. As they put distance between themselves and their pursuers, Jake allowed himself a moment of relief. But he knew their challenges were just getting started. They were now in command of an incredibly advanced ship, with a crew composed of various species who had been at odds just hours ago. "All right, everyone," Jake addressed the bridge crew. "I know this isn't what any of us expected, but we have a unique opportunity here. This ship, the Unity, represents the combined knowledge and efforts of all our peoples. We need to work together if we're going to make this mission a success." Draco nodded in agreement. "Jake's right. We've been given a chance to explore beyond the boundaries of known space. We can be the vanguard of a new era of cooperation and discovery." As the crew began to settle into their roles, Jake pulled up the ship's mission parameters on the main view screen. "Our first assignment is to investigate a series of unexplored star systems on the fringes of known space. We'll be looking for resources and potential allies for our alliance." The Unity accelerated to faster-than-light speeds, the stars stretching into streaks of light around them. Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement mixed with apprehension. They were venturing into the unknown, with a crew that was still learning to trust one another. Days passed as they traveled deeper into uncharted territory. The crew began to work more cohesively, though tensions still simmered beneath the surface. Jake and Draco spent long hours on the bridge, alternating between navigating the ship and mediating disputes among the crew. It was during one of these quiet moments that Draco noticed something on her scanner. "Jake, I'm picking up some strange readings ahead. It looks like a massive debris field." Jake leaned in to examine the data. "Any idea what caused it?" Draco shook her head. "Not yet, but it's unlike anything I've seen before." Jake made a quick decision. "Alter course to investigate. This could be our first major discovery." As they approached the debris field, the sheer scale of it became apparent. Fragments of metal and unknown materials stretched as far as their sensors could detect. Thal's voice came over the comm, excitement evident in his tone. "Captain, these readings are incredible. The composition of this debris suggests a level of technology far beyond our own." Jake's mind raced with possibilities. Could this be related to the civilization that created the Unity? As they carefully navigated through the field, a new alert sounded from Draco's console. "Jake, I'm detecting a faint distress signal. It's coming from a large, intact section of wreckage about 2 kilometers to our starboard." Jake knew they couldn't ignore a call for help, regardless of its origin. "All right, we're going to investigate. Zorn, Draco, Thal, you're with me. Prepare a boarding party." As they donned their environment suits and prepared to board the mysterious wreckage, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something that would change the course of their mission, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. As Jake and his team prepared to board the mysterious wreckage, alarms blared throughout the Unity. Zorn's gruff voice came over the comm system, urgency clear in his tone. "Captain, multiple hostile signatures detected. It's a massive fleet, unlike anything we've ever encountered." Jake rushed back to the bridge, his heart pounding. The main view screen displayed a terrifying sight. Hundreds of sleek biomechanical ships approaching rapidly, their designs alien and menacing. At the center of the formation loomed an enormous mothership, dwarfing the Unity in both size and apparent firepower. "Status report," Jake demanded, his mind racing to formulate a plan. Draco's fingers danced across her console. "The enemy fleet is advancing quickly. Our sensors indicate their technology far surpasses our own. A direct confrontation would be inadvisable." Jake nodded, his eyes fixed on the debris field surrounding them. "Then we won't give them one. Draco, plot a course through the wreckage. Use it as cover. We need to buy ourselves some time." The Unity surged forward, weaving through the massive chunks of ancient technology. Jake gripped the arms of his chair as the ship shuddered, narrowly avoiding collisions. Behind them, the enemy fleet gave chase, their superior numbers working against them in the cluttered space. "Multiple impacts detected," Thal reported, his antennae twitching with excitement. "Several enemy vessels have collided with debris." As they navigated the treacherous field, Lyra approached Jake, her eyes wide with realization. "Captain, I believe I can activate a dormant defense system within this wreckage. It could turn the tide of this battle." Jake nodded. "Do it. Draco, assist her. We need every advantage we can get." While Draco and Lyra worked feverishly to reactivate the ancient defenses, Jake formulated a daring plan. "Zorn, prepare a strike team. We're going to board that mothership." The Klingon warrior grinned fiercely. "It will be a glorious battle, Captain." As Jake assembled his team, Draco called out from her station. "Jake, we've done it! The defense platforms are coming online!" The view screen lit up as hidden weapons platforms throughout the debris field powered up, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons on the pursuing enemy ships. The Unity shuddered as a stray blast grazed their shields. Jake turned to Draco, their eyes meeting in a moment of shared willpower. "You have the bridge, Princess. Keep them busy while we take the fight to them." Draco nodded, her regal bearing shining through as she took command. "Be careful, Jake, and come back to me." With a final nod, Jake led his team to the transporter room. The alien technology hummed to life, enveloping them in a shimmering field of energy. In a blink, they materialized within the cavernous halls of the enemy mothership. The interior was a nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical components. Tendrils of living metal pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence, casting writhing shadows across the curved walls. Jake signaled his team to move forward, their weapons at the ready. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Cybernetically enhanced beings, more machine than flesh, swarmed towards them. Jake's team fought fiercely, their diverse abilities complementing each other in the close-quarters combat. As they battled their way deeper into the ship, Jake couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding them. "Thal, see if you can interface with their systems. We need to find the control room." The Andorian scientist nodded, his fingers flying over his tricorder. "This way, Captain. But be warned, I'm detecting multiple hostile life forms ahead." Back on the Unity, Draco coordinated the battle with precision and grace. Her tactical acumen surprised even the most skeptical members of the crew as she outmaneuvered the technologically superior enemy ships. "Divert power from non-essential systems to shields," she ordered. "Helm, execute evasive pattern Delta 7. We need to keep them focused on us." The Unity danced through space, drawing fire away from the activated defense platforms. Draco's heart raced, split between concern for Jake and the urgent need to keep the ship and crew safe. On the mothership, Jake's team faced increasingly difficult challenges. Biomechanical guardians, towering monstrosities of flesh and metal, blocked their path. Jake's human adaptability proved crucial as he improvised tactics on the fly, using the ship's own systems against the defenders. "Thal, can you overload that power conduit?" Jake shouted over the din of battle. "Zorn, cover him!" The resulting explosion cleared their path, but also alerted the ship's commanders to their presence. As they approached the central control room, Jake steeled himself for the final confrontation. The doors hissed open, revealing a vast chamber dominated by a pulsating organic computer. Standing before it were three figures, their bodies a seamless fusion of advanced cybernetics and alien physiology. The central figure, clearly the leader, stepped forward. Its voice was a discordant blend of organic and synthetic tones. "You dare to invade our vessel? Your primitive species cannot hope to comprehend, let alone defeat us." Jake raised his weapon, a grim smile on his face. "We may be primitive, but we're full of surprises." As Jake engaged the leader in combat, his team worked to sabotage the ship's systems. The battle was fierce, testing Jake's skills and endurance to their limits. He dodged energy blasts and cybernetic tentacles, using the environment to his advantage. In a desperate move, Jake managed to remove the leader's control interface, severing its connection to the ship. With a final, well-placed shot, he incapacitated the alien commander. "Thal, shut it down," Jake ordered, breathing heavily. The Andorian's fingers flew over the alien controls, initiating a cascading system failure. The mothership shuddered as its weapons and engines went offline. Jake tapped his communicator. "Unity, this is the strike team. Mission accomplished. Ready for extraction." As they rematerialized on the Unity's transporter pad, Jake saw the relief wash over Draco's face. The princess quickly regained her composure, but not before Jake caught a glimpse of the depth of her feelings. "Report," Jake said as they rushed back to the bridge. Draco's eyes shone with pride and excitement. "The enemy fleet is in disarray. With their command ship disabled, they've lost all cohesion. Our victory is assured, Jake." As the remaining enemy ships retreated or were destroyed by the ancient defense platforms, the crew of the Unity allowed themselves a moment of celebration. Jake looked around at the diverse faces of his crew, seeing newfound respect and camaraderie in their eyes. The unity they had forged in battle was a testament to what they could achieve together. But as the adrenaline of combat faded, Jake knew that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The ancient threat they had uncovered, the advanced technology they now possessed, and the complex dynamics of their crew all presented new frontiers to navigate. As he prepared to address the crew and the Galactic Council representatives, Jake felt the weight of leadership on his shoulders. He glanced at Draco, drawing strength from her presence. Together, they would face whatever the galaxy had in store for them next. As the adrenaline of their recent victory faded, Jake found himself staring out the viewport of the Unity, his mind racing with the implications of their discovery. The ancient threat they had encountered was unlike anything humanity had ever faced before. He knew that the information they carried could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "Captain?" Draco's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "We're approaching the coordinates for the new interspecies space station." Jake nodded, turning to face his crew. All right, everyone. This is it. We're about to make history. The Unity gracefully maneuvered through space, the gleaming structure of the station coming into view. It was a marvel of engineering, a testament to what could be achieved when different species work together. As they approached, Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in how far they had come since their journey began. Docking procedures initiated, Thal announced from his station, his antennae twitching with excitement. Jake watched as the station's docking clamps secured the Unity in place. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. Draco, Zorn, you're with me. The rest of you, prepare our data for presentation to the Council. As they made their way through the Unity's corridors, Jake found himself walking in step with Draco. Their shoulders brushed, and he felt a spark of electricity at the contact. The princess met his gaze, a mixture of anticipation and something deeper reflected in her eyes. The airlock hissed open, revealing the bustling interior of the station. Representatives from dozens of species moved about, their voices creating a cacophony of languages and dialects. Jake led his team forward, acutely aware of the eyes that followed their progress. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin approached them. Captain Jake, Princess Draco, welcome to Unity Station. I am Xanthar, your liaison to the Galactic Council. If you'll follow me, I'll show you to your quarters. As they walked, Xanthar briefed them on the schedule. The Council will convene in 6 standard hours. Until then, you're free to rest and prepare. Your presentation is eagerly anticipated. Jake nodded, his mind already formulating how best to present their findings. As they reached their assigned quarters, he turned to his team. Get some rest. We'll meet in 4 hours to go over our strategy. Once alone in their shared quarters, Jake felt the weight of leadership lift slightly from his shoulders. He turned to Draco, seeing his own mix of emotions mirrored in her face. We did it, he said softly, reaching out to take her hand. Draco's fingers intertwined with his, her touch sending a warmth through his body. We did, she agreed, her voice equally soft. But I fear this is only the beginning. Jake nodded, pulling her closer. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the unspoken feelings between them seemed to crystallize. Jake's heart raced as he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Draco's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. Draco, Jake began, his voice thick with emotion. When we started this journey, I never imagined I'd find someone like you. You've challenged me, supported me, and shown me what true partnership means. He opened the box, revealing a ring that blended human and pack-led design elements. Will you marry me? Draco's breath caught in her throat. For a moment she was silent, and Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Then her face broke into a radiant smile. Yes, she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Yes, I will. Jake slipped the ring onto her finger, marveling at how perfectly it fit. Their lips met in a kiss that seemed to bridge not just their biological differences, but the vast expanse of space that had once separated their worlds. As they broke apart, both breathless, the reality of their situation came rushing back. In a few hours, they would stand before the Galactic Council and potentially change the course of history. We should prepare, Draco said, though she made no move to step away from Jake's embrace. Jake nodded, stealing one more quick kiss before reluctantly releasing her. You're right. Let's show the Council what unity really means. They spent the next few hours meticulously reviewing their data and refining their presentation. When the time came, they made their way to the Council chambers, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future might hold. The Council chamber fell silent as Jake and Draco entered. Representatives from dozens of species sat in tiered seating, their attention focused solely on the couple. Jake squeezed Draco's hand once before they separated, taking their places at the center of the room. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Jake began, his voice strong and clear. We come before you today with information that will change the course of our shared history. As Jake spoke, holographic displays came to life around them, showing images and data from their encounters. He detailed their discovery of the ancient threat, the advanced technology they had encountered, and the potential for both great danger and unprecedented cooperation. Draco stepped forward, seamlessly continuing the narrative. The enemy we faced is unlike anything our individual species have encountered before, but together we were able to overcome them. This is the power of unity, the strength we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work as one. Their presentation lasted for hours, with council members asking probing questions and debating the implications of their findings. Jake and Draco answered each query with patience and clarity, their united front a living testament to the cooperation they advocated. As discussions heated up among the council members, an alarm suddenly blared through the station. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives jumped to their feet, looking around in confusion and fear. Xanthar rushed into the room, their iridescent skin pulsing with urgency. "Captain Jake, Princess Draco, you're needed on the command deck immediately. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from unexplored space. It's them. The ancient enemy has returned." Jake and Draco exchanged a look of dedication. The ultimate test of their newfound alliance had arrived sooner than anyone had anticipated. Without a word, they raced out of the council chamber, ready to face the looming threat and prove that unity was not just an ideal, but their greatest weapon against the darkness that threatened to engulf them all.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.